Hours before the Twin Towers fell, Dr. Sneha Philip vanished without a trace. Was she a 9/11 hero, a victim of foul play, or a mystery lost in history? Sneha Ann Philip was born on October 7, 1969, in India, to a family deeply rooted in medicine and the arts. Her father, Dr. Kochil Philip, was a respected physician, while her mother, Ansu, nurtured Sneha's love for painting, music, and literature. In 1987, the family immigrated to the United States, settling in Hopewell Junction, New York. Sneha thrived in her new home, excelling academically and eventually earning a place at Johns Hopkins University. By 1995, she enrolled at the Chicago Medical School, where she met Ron Lieberman, a fellow student who shared her passion for Renaissance art and travel. Their connection was immediate, and they soon became inseparable. Sneha even took a year off from her studies to explore Italy with Ron, a decision that delayed her graduation but solidified their bond. The couple married in May 2000 in a ceremony that blended Ron's Jewish heritage with Sneha's Indian Christian traditions. They moved to Manhattan shortly after, where Ron began working at Jacobi Medical Center and Sneha at Cabrini Medical Center. Their apartment in Battery Park City, just blocks from the World Trade Center, became a symbol of their new life together, a life that seemed full of promise. But by 2001, that promise began to fray. At Cabrini Medical Center, Sneha's colleagues noticed a troubling shift in her behavior. Once punctual and meticulous, she started arriving late, often disheveled and smelling of alcohol. In April 2001, a heated argument with a co-worker spiraled out of control. Sneha called the police, accusing the colleague of harassment, only to retract her statement hours later. She was arrested for filing a false report, a charge later dismissed but one that left a stain on her professional reputation. The hospital suspended her, mandating counselling for alcohol abuse. Ron stood by her side, but tensions lingered. Sneha began staying out late, often visiting LGBTQ+ bars in Manhattan's West Village. She needed space, Ron later admitted, but she always came home. Friends described her as restless, torn between her disciplined upbringing and a yearning for independence. On September 10, 2001, Sneha faced a pivotal court hearing related to the false report charge. She pleaded not guilty, but the judge warned that the case could drag on for months, threatening her medical career. Afterward, she returned to her apartment to prepare for a visit from her cousin Anu. She spent the afternoon repotting orchids on the balcony and chatting online with her mother. During their conversation, she mentioned a friend's upcoming wedding at Windows on the World, the famed restaurant atop the North Tower of the World Trade Center. "I'll take you there someday," she typed. "The view is like heaven." At 5:30 p.m., Sneha left the apartment wearing a black dress and gold jewelry. She dropped off dry cleaning and walked to Century 21, a discount department store near the Twin Towers. Security cameras captured her browsing lingerie and housewares. At 6:47 p.m., she swiped Ron's credit card to purchase a dress, pantyhose and bedsheets, the last confirmed sighting of her alive. What happened next remains a haunting mystery. Did she meet someone? Did she wander into a bar? Or did she return home only to be swept into the chaos of the next morning? Ron arrived home around midnight to an empty apartment. There was no note, no voicemail. Assuming Sneha had stayed with family, he went to bed. At 4 a.m., his cell phone buzzed with a missed call from their landline. He checked the voicemail, heard only static, and drifted back to sleep. Just over 4 hours later, at 8:46 a.m., American Airlines Flight 11 tore through the North Tower. Ron, at work in Jacobi Medical Center, froze as colleagues described the unfolding horror. He dialed home repeatedly, but no one answered. "I thought maybe she'd gone to help," he later said. "But I didn't know. I didn't know anything." By 9 a.m., the world seemed to unravel. The South Tower was struck. The Pentagon burned. United Flight 93 crashed in Pennsylvania. Ron, frantic, called Sneha's family, but no one had heard from her. He fought through gridlocked traffic, hitchhiking with an ambulance to reach Ground Zero. By nightfall, he arrived at their apartment, now blanketed in ash. Inside, paw prints from their kittens dotted the dust, proof Sneha hadn't returned. Her passport, credit cards and glasses lay untouched. Ron filed a missing persons report, one of thousands lost in the fog of 9/11. In the days that followed, Ron scoured Century 21 security tapes. A clerk claimed to have seen Sneha with another woman, possibly South Asian, but the footage showed her alone. Private investigator Ken Gallant joined the search, dismissing theories that Sneha had staged her disappearance. "She left everything," he said. "This wasn't a plan." Then came a tantalizing clue. Grainy CCTV footage from Sneha's apartment lobby, time-stamped 8:43 a.m. on September 11th. A woman matching her description, black dress, shoulder-length hair, entered the building. Ron insisted it was her. The way she walked, it was her. But questions lingered. Why did she carry no bags? Had she heard the first planes roar and sprinted toward the towers? Or was the timestamp a cruel trick of fate? The NYPD remained skeptical. Reports highlighted Sneha's troubled past, suggesting she'd fled her life, yet friends and family rejected this. "She'd never abandon us," her brother Ashwin said, not after how hard she'd fought to stay. As the dust settled over Manhattan, two theories collided. Was Sneha Philip a hero, rushing into the inferno to save lives? Or did she vanish into the chaos, her story erased by history's darkest day? The answer, like Sneha herself, remains lost in the shadows. In the weeks following September 11, 2001, the search for Sneha Philip became a labyrinth of dead ends and contradictions. The NYPD, overwhelmed by thousands of missing persons reports, initially treated her case as collateral damage of the attacks. But as the dust settled, detectives began scrutinizing her life with a colder eye. Reports surfaced detailing her recent struggles, the suspension from Cabrini Medical Center, the arrest for filing a false police report, the late-night visits to Manhattan's bars. A detective assigned to her case later remarked, "She wasn't the kind of person who just disappears unless she wanted to." Ron refused to accept the implication. He hired private investigator Ken Gallant, a former NYPD detective, to dig deeper. Gallant combed through security footage, interviewed bartenders and shop clerks, and retraced Sneha's final hours. He discovered that on the night of September 10th, after leaving Century 21, Sneha had wandered toward the West Village. A bartender at the Cubbyhole, a popular LGBTQ+ bar, recalled serving a woman matching her description around 8:01 p.m. "She was alone, quiet," the bartender said. "Ordered a gin and tonic, left an hour later." No one saw her after that. The NYPD fixated on her personal turmoil. In 2003, they released a report suggesting Sneha might have used the chaos of 9/11 to stage her disappearance. They pointed to her alleged interest in starting a new life, citing rumours she'd confided in a friend about needing to escape. But Gallant dismissed the theory. "If she'd planned this, she'd have taken her passport, her credit cards, something," he argued. "All she had was the clothes she wore that night." The battle to have Sneha recognised as a 9/11 victim became a legal odyssey. In 2004, Ron and the Philip family petitioned the September 11th Victim Compensation Fund, seeking acknowledgement that she died in the attacks. The court demanded conclusive evidence, a photo, a witness, a shred of DNA. The family pointed to the lobby CCTV footage, timestamped 8:43 a.m. on September 11th, which showed a woman they swore was Sneha entering her apartment building just minutes before the first plane struck. Ron testified that the woman's gait, her hairstyle, even the way she paused to adjust her dress, matched his wife's mannerisms. An NYPD detective unfamiliar with Sneha reviewed the tape and agreed, "It's her." But skeptics questioned the timestamp. Building security cameras were notorious for slight discrepancies, and if the clock were off by even 2 minutes, the woman in the footage could have been reacting to the roar of Flight 11 overhead. Why would Sneha, supposedly home by 8:43 a.m., leave again without her glasses or wallet? Maybe she heard the explosion and ran outside, Ron speculated. She was a doctor. She'd have rushed to help. The NYPD countered with a darker narrative. They claimed Sneha and Ron had argued violently the morning of September 10th, a claim Ron denied. Detectives interviewed her brother, Ashwin, and alleged he'd once caught Sneha in a compromising position with his girlfriend, a story Ashwin fiercely denied in court. "They twisted everything," he said. "They wanted her to look unstable, like someone who'd abandon her family." In 2005, the Compensation Fund rejected Sneha's case, citing insufficient evidence. The family appealed, and in 2008, a judge made a landmark ruling. While there was no proof Sneha died at Ground Zero, the likelihood was overwhelming. Her name was added to the official list of 9/11 victims, granting her family access to financial support. But the victory felt hollow. "It wasn't about money," her mother Ansu said. "We just wanted the world to know she didn't run away." The mystery deepened with the emergence of Fernando Molinar, another New Yorker who vanished days before 9/11. Molinar's case shared eerie parallels. He was last seen near the World Trade Center, and his remains were never found. Conspiracy theorists speculated about a connection, but Gallant found no evidence the two had ever met. "The truth is, Sneha's disappearance is a void," he admitted, "and voids get filled with stories." By 2010, the trail had gone cold. The lobby CCTV footage, never released to the public, became the subject of online myth-making. Some claimed the timestamp had been altered. Others insisted the woman in the video wasn't Sneha at all. The NYPD closed her case quietly, labelling it inactive. Yet fragments of her story lingered. In 2013, a researcher reviewing 9/11 remains discovered a DNA sample that partially matched Sneha's brother, Ashwin. But the match was inconclusive, a ghost of a possibility. "It's like she's still out there," Ron said, "waiting to be found." To this day, no one knows what happened after Sneha left Century 21 on September 10th. Did she return home that night, only to wake the next morning and race toward the burning towers? Did she seek solace in a stranger's apartment, her fate forever tangled in the chaos of that day? Or did she vanish into the city's shadows, a woman swallowed by the churn of history? The questions outnumber the answers. What remains is a portrait of a woman caught between light and darkness, a doctor who dreamed of healing, a daughter who longed for connection, a mystery that refuses to die. Years turned into decades, but the mystery of Sneha Philip's disappearance never faded. Advances in DNA technology rekindled hope that her remains might finally be identified among the 1,100 victims still unnamed from Ground Zero. In 2017, the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner announced a breakthrough. New techniques allowed them to test degraded bone fragments previously deemed unusable. For the Philip family, it was a flicker of light in a decades-long darkness. But as of 2023, no match has been confirmed. "Every time the phone rings, I think it's them," her brother Ashwin admitted. "But maybe some answers aren't meant to be found." Theories about Sneha's fate continued to fracture and multiply. Some speculated she'd been murdered the night of September 10th, her body hidden in the chaos of the attacks. Others insisted she'd fled New York to start anew, citing alleged sightings in Europe and India, all unverified. A retired NYPD detective claimed in a 2019 podcast that a sex worker in the West Village had recognized Sneha's photo, swearing she'd seen her at a bar days after 9/11. The tip went nowhere, but it fueled conspiracy forums. "People want closure," Ron Lieberman said, "even if it's built on lies." The most persistent theory, however, remained the simplest. Sneha died at the World Trade Center. Supporters pointed to her medical instincts and the lobby CCTV footage. If the timestamp was accurate, she'd have had just 3 minutes to react to the first plane's impact. "She'd have run toward it," her colleague at Cabrini Medical Center insisted. That's who she was. But without physical evidence, the doubters held firm. In 2021, a FOIA request finally forced the NYPD to release portions of their case file. Buried in the documents was a bombshell, a witness who claimed to have seen a woman matching Sneha's description, helping burn victims near Liberty Street at 9:15 a.m. The witness, a retired firefighter, described her wearing a black dress and shouting, "I'm a doctor," before the South Tower collapsed. The NYPD had dismissed the account as too vague, but for Sneha's family, it was vindication. The 20th anniversary of 9/11 in 2021 brought renewed attention to her story. Documentaries and true crime series dissected every detail, while historians argued her case symbolized the thousands of invisible victims, those swallowed by the chaos, their stories erased by larger tragedies. At the 9/11 Memorial Museum, Sneha's name is etched into panel N76 of the North Pool, alongside other victims of the attacks. But her entry remains unique, the only person whose presence at ground zero that, for Ron, the years have been a balancing act between grief and defiance. He remarried in 2010, but keeps a box of Sneha's paintings and journals in his attic. "She wasn't perfect," he said, "but she deserved more than to become a footnote." Her parents, now in their 80s, still light a candle for her every September 11th. "We don't need proof," her mother Ansu said. "We know she's with God." In the end, Sneha Philip's story is a mosaic of contradictions, a woman celebrated as a hero and scrutinized as the enigma, a victim of history and a mystery that history refuses to solve. She exists in the gaps, between the last swipe of a credit card and the first crash of a plane, between a grainy CCTV frame and a vanished life. Science may yet provide answers, but for now, she lingers in the realm of what-ifs. What endures is the legacy of a woman who loved art and medicine, who dreamed of sunlit Italian vineyards and Manhattan skylines, who fought to heal others even as her own life unraveled. Whether she perished in the inferno or vanished into the unknown, Sneha Ann Philip remains a reminder of the thousands of stories that dissolved in the dust of September 11th and the unyielding human need to reclaim them.